Larissa and Tatiana were sisters, and despite the age difference, they were very close. It was not at all noticeable that there was a 10-year difference between them. Larissa was older. Since Tatiana's birth, she had always been by her side, which is quite surprising because the older ones don't usually stay with the little ones, but Larissa used to take care of Tatiana for hours, bathe her, walk her, and feed her. She was like a young mother. The mother told her daughter that she was proud. The girl really liked the role she was playing, and all the other kids in the yard had dolls and prams, and she grew quite big. The doll was alive. But beyond all that, Larissa was also mature enough to understand that her mother wasn't exactly fine and that she had to help her. Her mother got very sick after giving birth. Many things had changed and her body seemed to tire. When the girl was 3 years old, her mother passed away. Since then, Larissa has taken her mother's role at the funeral. She couldn't even cry for her because Tatiana was in her arms and always cried for two. Larissa calmed her down and she didn't have time for personal emotions. She had grown up earlier than she should have. Then they moved to the city. All of a sudden, her dad didn't ask if she wanted it or not. He simply told them to get their clothes and accompany him to their grandmother's house. Later, it was learned that he had formed another family, another wife, and another child, a boy, because he wouldn't still need his late wife's daughters. He chose a new family, a new happiness, and a new life. But what would happen to Larissa and Tatiana? It didn't matter, so Larissa was there for her sister, as well as her mother and father. Time passed and the girls grew up. When Larissa finished school, Tatiana was preparing for first grade. Larissa understood how difficult it was for her grandparents to support them both with a pension. Their grandmother never complained, but Larissa could see how poor they lived. Therefore, she decided that after school, she would work on the cattle farm. If she wasn't lazy and worked hard, she could earn good money, and if she wanted to be a teacher, she would have to study a lot. And Grandma can't support two students at the same time. Larissa couldn't decide whether becoming a teacher or supporting her sister was more important, but she realized that teaching could wait. Tatiana has to finish primary school at least, and then she will know if she can achieve her dream of becoming a teacher and won't have to hold her sister's hand to go to school. So maybe I'll study without going to school, Larissa said, but that never happened. When Tatiana was 8 years old, Grandma died. There they were, two sisters left alone. Larissa remembered her grandmother's words, "Pride is bad, a sin." She had to ask her father for help. Maybe he has no idea how difficult it is for them, but Larissa refuses as she has decided that her work is enough for them. She was very angry with him. Perhaps she was afraid to talk with her father and could not part with her sister. It was as if she really had become a child to him, as her mother used to say. Larissa is a young mother, and so it happened. But Larissa had completely surrendered to her sister when she brought up Tatiana being spoiled. She had no purpose in life. She was lost in space, and she didn't mean it. Tatiana loved her sister. She was a good girl and kind at heart, just a little unkempt. All she could think of was having fun. Tomorrow, the day after, she would finish school and not know what she wanted to be. She had some pretty unreachable dreams. Sometimes she dreamed of being a cooking chef. Other times she wanted to be an actress. For these professions, she had to learn. And as you'd expect, after school, she didn't go to ballet, theater, or cooking school. Instead, she got married. She married a local guy. She met him when she went to her dream college. And how could Larissa be against it, since she wanted to have a serious talk with her sister? But nothing came out. They just argued. "You are not my mother," Tatiana said, but they quickly reconciled, cried together, and reminisced about their childhood. I am her mother and her father, Larissa thought, maybe even asking her father for help. But no, she could not forgive his betrayal. She could understand if it was just her. He could send Larissa to Grandma's house. She was old enough. But Tatiana? Why? She was so young that he could have welcomed her into his new family. At least she could grow up with a mother, because not all stepmothers are bad, as in the stories. Larissa gets so stressed out. It's not like her sister is going to the moon. She just got married and moved to town. Maybe her new family will reset her brain. Maybe she could resume her dream of being a teacher. After Tatiana's departure, a void appeared in Larissa's life. She realized that she was already 30 years old and still working on the cattle ranch. Although she is one of the top employees, she is not married and has no children. God, at least manage me to give birth, because time passes and the clock ticks. Larissa decided to take care of herself, but how? All her life, she lived for others, for her mother, for her sister, for her grandmother, Her friend advised her to buy a ticket to the sea. It was there that she met Mr. John, a decent man. I can't say that he likes youthful passions, but he does. She seemed to like him too. John was more mature than Larissa, but she was also wiser than her age. It turned out that John was divorced, but was looking for a match his age. However, Larissa was in no hurry to get married, and she also did not want to leave the small town. 3 years passed, then the sisters met. Tatiana had as much fun as if she were still 18 years old. She was like a butterfly. Only one thing worried Larissa. Tatiana did not have children yet, but the girl kept changing the subject and didn't want to talk about it. "Seriously, we still have time. We have to live for ourselves," said Tatiana. "What does this mean for us? Where would you be now if I had decided to live for myself?" Larissa was indignant. "Thank you for raising me, but don't think I'm going to start living the way you want," said her sister. John suggested taking Larissa on a vacation. So why not, Larissa thought. The woman decided that maybe she should take a page from Tatiana's book and live for herself. When they got back from that vacation, a strange feeling didn't let her up at the airport. Suddenly, she saw a stranger who didn't know why it caught her eye. The airport was full of people, but Larissa seemed to see only him. His face was pale, his hair gray. Larissa knew him. It was her father. Anxiety hardened her heart. She turned and looked straight into his eyes. It wasn't strange that he knew her immediately, because Larissa was a copy of her mother. "Larissa, what a pain, what a pain! Tatiana died," her father said and started to cry. "What do you mean? Who's dead?" Larissa thought it was a bad joke. "You have to hurry. We have to go to the cemetery. They are already burying her without our presence." Her father told her in a hurry, and his hands were shaking, and John suggested that they take a taxi all together. They arrived as they were leaving the coffin in the grave. The husband's relatives were impassive. Nobody cried. Larissa thought that there was a kind of dislike on their faces. "If I didn't waste 15 minutes packing, I would have made it." Larissa did not say goodbye to her sister. But Larissa won't give up. She said, "Raise the coffin again. I want to see my sister one last time." Suddenly, all eyes startled towards her, and they were shocked. "Larissa, are you crazy?" said Tatiana's mother-in-law. "Do not. You've gone crazy." "You couldn't wait? My father came to pick me up at the airport," said Larissa. "No one asked him to do this. I didn't even need to tell you why we lowered the coffin into the grave," the mother-in-law said. Tatiana's husband said, "What's going on here?" "Raise the casket right now," John said and flashed his investigator's badge. The coffin was collected and the lid was removed. Larissa ran to her sister, and when she saw her, she shouted, "She is alive! She is alive!" Larissa screamed and the total madness began. Someone was running away when he heard that. Thanks to John, the case was resolved quickly. Tatiana's husband wanted to get rid of her in favor of his mistress. It turned out that the girl was pregnant and the mistress's father was a coroner. It wasn't difficult to put it all together and get rid of his wife and all the leads. All the culprits were arrested and Tatiana and Larissa reconciled with their father once again. A big hug to everyone, and see you tomorrow.